Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
Today it's just us two.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, the two wingmen.
That's it.
Making it happen. It has been in our neck of the woods. It is definitely June.
Ooh,
I know we always, hey, dude. I know we always kind of start a couple of the episodes. We talk about this. It just feels relevant right now.
Right. The weather.
We live in the South,
insane.
and the humidity is awful. It is just, I'm not looking forward to it. Today alone, it was like 90-something degrees outside. And I was like, man, just...
Yeah, driving over here, and I'm pulling into the studio parking lot.
Right.
And I'm going, do I really want to get out of this heat?
Man, it feels so nice.
It's only a short walk, but do I really want to get out in this heat?
This car air conditioning feels nice right now. Yeah. How about you? Is there anything else happening in your world?
The AC started to crap out on us.
Oh, no.
Yes.
That is the worst.
We had to call a buddy just to, I can say Miranda now, I guess, because she's on the show right. That. I wanted to say Hottie Doctor, but she has a normal AC guy.
Okay.
And so she called him.
Right.
He's on vacation.
Oh, no.
What AC guy is on vacation in June? That's probably your biggest dollar, What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so luckily I had a friend, and I called him, and he kind of juiced it up a little bit.
Nice.
Helped it cool off until, her normal guy gets back. Dude. But man, that's a fear.
Yeah.
That's a huge fear of, the air conditioning going out.
Oh, dude. I think you remember you guys were here one time in this area whenever the AC just was on the fritz that one time. And I was like, oh, it almost got to 80-something degrees inside the house. And I was like, I can't do it.
Right.
There are a few things in life that like first world amenities, and man, at least in this climate, AC is one of them. Right. I couldn't do it.
Well, when I lived in Colorado, they had something called a swamp cooler.
Oh,
the humidity's so low that they just put a little moisture in the air. It's a little box that sits on the top, and the water kind of trickles down these little metal filter things, and it sucks the air and just push it regular ductwork like a regular air conditioner, and it cools it off. Amazing. Those things were nice.
Really?
But down here, you got to have Freon. That would, because it's so humid, it wouldn't work.
That's crazy.
Most people don't realize that Colorado uses more sunscreen than Florida.
Really?
Yeah, because they're so high and they're above the pollution. You can get a third-degree burn from sunburn in 15, 20 minutes.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
I didn't know
lived
that.
at 8,900 feet. I could look down a mile to see the thunderstorm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane.
That's amazing.
You could be sitting there and watch the clouds part.
Dude.
And the storm would part right around you in the little, the valley that it was in. It was awesome.
That's insane. The world is an interesting place.
Yes.
I have a topic that we're gonna save for a later episode. Because I want to think on it, but it's going to involve stuff like that, where it's like just normal things in this world that I think we take for granted sometimes that just are.
Yeah, it's a really cool topic. I want to research it and think about it and come up with a few of my own.
I just had one of those shower thoughts the other day where I just
Is that where you think the best in the shower?
Yeah, a lot of times.
For me, it's the bathroom, but it's the pot.
Right.
When I'm sitting on the pot, I do my best thinking.
Right. I'm a little distracted at that point.
Are you?
Yeah. For me, it's one of the, I don't know, even as a kid, it was like that. I would just take a hot shower. It relaxes me. And then I think I just get in the zone. I just start thinking a lot. And
now, when you say hot, is it scalding hot or just hot?
No, just hot.
Yeah.
And it's like a nice hot shower. Just, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a relaxing, kind of like people like taking hot baths. I just like the hot water on me, and then just really just relaxing and just thinking. It really opens up my mind, I feel like, in a whole new way.
Yeah, I like the hot shower because it just feels like it's just sucking all that bad away from me.
Oh, yeah. Right. Anyways. But yeah, that was definitely one of them. I was having kind of a really heavy week that was like making me think a lot. And then having that moment where I was really just contemplating things, and I was like, man, the world is a crazy place.
It is. And getting crazier.
Yeah.
It's not letting up.
Yes, you're right. But anyways, what is there anything in particular you wanted to talk about today?
Well, we're both in some crossroads in our life.
Oh, yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And thankfully, I have Miranda as kind of a cornerstone. Mm-hmm. And this podcast is another cornerstone.
Right.
One of the things I really like about this podcast, especially when X-Man was here, and then we've had Miranda and Sam and Steve a couple of times.
Right.
But with Miranda and especially with Sam.
Oh yeah, Sam.
The conversations before and after were long.
Oh,
and
yeah.
thoughtful.
Right.
And I want us to start recording those,
right.
even for us, just to be able to go back and listen to.
For posterity.
Yeah. But so this podcast is kind of therapeutic and kind of a cornerstone for me too. Mm. I remember when we made the decision to do this and make that move, it was huge for all of us because we all agreed for a 3-year commitment that we got to stick through it.
Right.
We got to do it for at least 3 years.
Right.
Because that's the minimum that they say that any business, 2 to 3 years for anything to be successful and work out the kinks.
Right.
You got to do. So that was a big decision for us. And I remember those meetings that we were having. And
yeah.
But it's all
so
about
long ago.
Right? Good Lord, that was almost a year.
And that's crazy. It
We're
feels
almost a full year into this thing.
It simultaneously does not feel that long, and also it feels longer.
It's like forever, doesn't it? But the topic I have, I guess it's a topic, it's just a thought process, but I ran across a saying a while back, and I love it. Mm-hmm. And it's called, good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions. Mm. And since both you and I are in a huge decision-making process in our lives, I thought, I wonder what you thought about that.
It is very true.
Okay, everybody, his eyes just glassed over.
I'm just because you start thinking about, at least this is how I work. You pose a question like that, and I start, thinking about my life, where it's the same thing. You start. I've made some pretty bad decisions, thinking that they were great.
So you have some experience.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, I think I'm doing better off because of that. Where it's like I was in a bad spot. I had made decisions that I thought were good. It turned out to be bad in the long run. But I think I gained experience through all of it and got better at my craft and at my trade. And I think I've maintained that. And then, of course, from all that, I get to look back on it and go, now I know what to and not to say. And I know, for me, it's like self-worth in a lot of ways. Especially in like a career mindset like that, because my work a lot of times is creative and artistic and that kind of avenue, I guess you want to call it. People may not find it hard to like set a price on that, but for me personally, with my personality and just who I am, I find it kind of hard to put a price tag on that sometimes.
Okay, that's fair.
You're right.
Yeah.
I have gotten better about it, but when I was younger, and I don't think I quite saw the same value in my work that I think I do now. I used to undercut myself a lot. So, as you can imagine, there was a lot of times where I look back on it now, going like, "Man, you really could have made a lot more money from that." Again, but I always thought it was like, I don't want to be stingy, I don't want to be mean or rude, but with age and with experience and with bad decisions and all that kind of stuff, I can look back on it and go, there's a way to handle it where you can say like, this is going to be stressful or this is going to be a lot of work and I will require this much for that. And if they don't like it, that's okay. It was just, I think I was not confrontational at that point in time, but that was like one big one that came to mind.
But you know your worth now.
Right. Or at least a little bit better than I think I did.
Sure.
So now I can be a little more upfront and honest about it and be like, I love you. You're a friend. I can help you out. But sometimes also, like, I got to pay the bills.
Well, it's kind of, you talk about, what are things worth?
Right.
So a friend of mine asked me years ago, before Miranda and I got together, I had a little place out in a suburb of where we live. and I had a pretty good yard. And they asked me, why don't you just cut your own grass? Why?
Yeah.
It would take me 3 to 4 hours to do it. I can hire a group of professionals, and they can do it in an hour to an hour and a half.
Right.
And if I'm worth X amount of dollars, if what I get paid at my job is $40 an hour,
right,
and that's not what I make. I'm just saying if I make $40 an hour, and it would take me 3 to 4 hours,
right,
that's let's say a minimum of $120, and they'll do it for 60.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't have to get hot and sweaty in this 90 degree
in this climate.
Maybe that's a good question. How do you make your decisions when you're going to do something? And that's how I quantify that decision. I'm going to go, okay, it would take me X amount of hours.
Right.
Be miserable.
Yes.
And I'm allergic to cut grass, number one.
Right.
And they could do it in way less time.
And with if you have a team out there, probably better than what you probably could have done.
Probably better than I could have done.
Right. Because at least I'm the same way.
And then I don't have the upkeep of the machines or any of that.
Right.
And let them do it and come knock it out.
Right. There is a honest guy out there that I'm willing to pay for the job. Who's going to probably do a great job. And like that's how I look at it, the same way. I have a pretty decent amount of land here, and it's the same way. It's like I could do it. And I think I'll take
I've even offered to come do it for you.
Yeah, right.
Because I got that new fancy Dream mower now. You know?
Which is so nice.
Right.
I can usually take care of the front yard, but there's a pretty big backyard section. And there's a guy who comes out here with like a big tractor guy, a little...
he bush hogs it. Yeah. Bush hogs it. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, a couple hours, it's done. And it looks nice. And I'm like, hey,
you don't have to do it.
Oh, right. And it's also, and I think it is worth the money that I would probably spend on it because he does a great job and he's an honest guy. For military, and I'm willing to help him out because I'm like, hey.
But that's part of your decision process. When I lived in neighborhoods before, I always liked to get the little kid, 15. You know, he would do a terrible job.
Right.
You know, but I would love paying them.
Right.
Help them earn some money.
Yeah.
And learn some responsibility and learn how to run a little business.
Yeah.
That was part of that decision process.
Right. Exactly.
So what do you use to make a decision on? And there's varying degrees of decisions.
Oh, of course.
Cutting grass is really kind of a simple one, but it adds up.
Right. There is... I'm trying to think like in what other avenues. Like right now I'm having a pretty big career decision to make where it's... I don't want to get in all the details about it. But it is requiring me to weigh out like pros and cons from a lot of different things. I feel like I'm pretty established at where I am right now, and I feel like I've worked pretty hard to get here, and I don't want to throw that away. But I also think that the other opportunity would be very beneficial to me from like a emotionally and
peace of
mind, like a more positive environment, I think. So it's hard to... Well, for some people, it's not hard to quantify. For me, in this moment in my life, it's a little hard to quantify, like amount of money versus peace of mind kind of thing, where it's like that there is a tangible amount potentially, and there's not to say that the other job doesn't have that, but it's an uncertainty in that regard. But there is an emotional value that it has. There is a mental value that it would probably bring to my life. So, and I have in the past made those decisions where I have explicitly said to myself, I'm okay taking a pay cut here because I know that I'm going to be better off mentally in this space than I will have than I will be here. I mean, I've talked about this pretty openly, but like working at a very busy coffee shop. It was a great time, and I thrived in that environment for a while, but it got to a point where the team had changed, the management had changed, and it was no longer the same place anymore. And then I had to be real with myself, and I was like, I'm getting paid decent, but I'm not happy in any capacity here. But I'm going to like a little side gig, and I'm super happy, and they're paying me a little bit better. And then, of course, then the
you're doing what you kind of really want to do.
Yeah, and
it's in the field that you want to be in.
I'm doing the things creatively that I love to do, and they want to improve me as a person. They want to pay me more, they are encouraging and a great place to be at. And so it really starts to be, I may not make as many hours there. So on paper, I'm not making as much money. But when I tell you I look forward to being there because I know it's a great place and it's fun. And even though I'm not making as much money, I'm coming home with a smile on my face. Right. And it's like, how do you...
well, that's a tangible thing.
Right.
That counts.
Exactly. And so it's the same sort of situation. Not to say that I'm in as dire of a situation as I once was by any means, but it is a very similar situation where there is a dollar amount or a, outlook kind of amount where it's like, how would I feel at the end of this job kind of thing. And so it's that's a big decision and I don't quite have an answer. So
when you come up and it's time to make a decision, everything in life is a decision.
Oh yeah. Making a decision is a decision.
Yes. I was fixing to say, I'm going to postpone that decision. Guess what is a decision?
Yes, exactly.
What do you do? Pro and con list?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times I will confide in friends and family. A lot of times I'm not afraid to open up. I have Mallory. I mean, obviously a great supporter, but I also have really close friends and family that I can sit down with and go and just vent a little bit, really talk about my feelings about the situation and be very open and candid about it. And I take their opinions pretty seriously.
Sure.
I may not make their decision based off of one person, but I'll ask like a group of my friends and family.
Well, there's an old saying, I learn by other people's mistakes because I don't have enough time in my life to make all of the mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So when you're asking other people, you're pulling in their information.
Exactly.
Some of the mistakes they've made,
right?
Some of the bad decisions that they've made.
Exactly.
What process did they go through to achieve these decisions? Yeah. And then you're pulling that information. You may not use it. You may pull out what you need or garner what you need to help make your decision.
Oh, and then sometimes they may know me better. They may know me better than I probably know myself in that situation, where they may not know me 100%, but like they know me well enough to know, I know you, Ian, and you want to stay or you want to go, like that kind of thing. And I've had people like that. And
they see you from a different perspective than you see yourself.
Right. So. Because it really does feel like with decisions like that, I feel like I'm in the storm and everyone else is kind of outside of it looking into it. Go like, no. You gotta pull up.
Push through.
The
end is right there.
Exactly. So that's the thing is like sometimes I can't see the forest through all the trees, and it's nice sometimes to have different perspectives from different walks of life. Like I said, even this show. I mean, we're talking about it now. Is like me well enough to know certain things that I should or shouldn't do, and if I was to open up to you or X-Man in that situation or Mallory, you all may have differing opinions, but I think I value all of them because it's going to help me.
Suck if you went to Mallory, X-Man, and me, told us all the same situation, right. And we all three had different
answers. Yeah. Yes. Well, but still, even if that's the case, I like you said, I can garner different things, and I can see that I can see the value in all your guys' different perspectives, and go and form an opinion based on the people around me. That's like the big thing. If it's a big decision like that, that's usually what I do. If it's a more smaller decision, a lot of times I'm more of an introverted person. So a lot of times just sitting at my desk, having some time to myself, maybe making some tea, relaxing, or taking a hot shower like we talked about, and just having a moment to just really having like a mental pros and cons list, or just really, feeling it out.
Miranda told me early on in our relationship that there was pros and cons of dating me. And I was like, really?
Okay.
And, curiosity, well, what's the con? She says, well, you're an asshole.
Well, yeah.
And I said, really? Well, what's the pro? She said, you're my asshole.
That's great.
I said, well, that's a good pro-con list, baby.
That's right, awesome. Yeah.
So, but that's what I use a pro-con list to. Really, all jokes aside. Everything in life is going to be good and bad.
Right.
Even though when we had this conversation, pre-show, the grass may look greener on the other side.
Yeah. But
when you get there, it may not always be. That's kind of an optical delusion. So once you get there, then you realize whether it was a good decision or not.
Right.
And only then.
Right. And then or if you want to take it one step further and really hammer home that analogy, is like, it may be just as shitty, but is it shit you're willing to deal with? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it could be a different type, but is it something you're willing to go through?
Well, your generation has brought forth something that my generation didn't have. We were expected to do what our parents told us to do. You go to school.
Right.
If your family has a family business, you take it over, you help run it, you work at it, you go into the plants, or if you were a blue collar family, that's what you did. If you're a white collar family, that's what you did.
Right.
But your generation has kind of come forth and said, we're going to make some decisions based off of how we feel and what we want to do.
Yeah.
And y'all don't necessarily follow suit on the same thing that we had to. So our decisions were based on our lifestyle and what our family was doing, and your decisions are just purely based on what you really feel in your heart that you want to do.
Right.
Does that change the pro-con list, or do you just kind of ignore that and just make a decision based on your heart?
Whenever I was younger and I was not as secure in my own self.
Before you made some mistakes?
Oh, right. Before I made some really serious mistakes. And I wasn't as secure in myself, just in my decision making and just as a man in general, as an adult. The lack of stability in that regard was very scary, because I was working like freelance jobs where I was just, as long as I was like getting jobs, as long as I was doing things, I was making money, and I didn't feel like I could stop, because I couldn't allow myself to, because if I did, the money's going to stop flowing and I can't afford it anymore.
Right.
Or I can't have the same lifestyle in some way. So, and again, also, I always had in the back of my mind to try and save up for the future, to try and save up for retirement, or try and do something like that. And I never quite did until recently. So those decisions to work jobs and to do freelance work that I enjoyed and thought was fun, it was making me pretty good money in the time. I was always nervous about, like, is me doing this detrimental to my future, like far away that I'm not even able to see right now?
And then it turns out that's what you needed to do to prepare you for what you're doing today.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So do people lose a lot by living in fear and not making decisions that they need to? Yeah.
I think I'm not going to call it any one person, because I've done this many times, and I'm hoping that many people can attest to this, is I have had the fear of saying no to things. Mostly just because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or I just don't feel comfortable saying no about something, either to a job or to hang out with some friends, or you name it. I would rather say I don't know, because it feels like it's softening the blow.
Okay.
But I've realized in my adult life, I have really, really realized, because I hurt some people's feelings in the past, that it's okay to say no sometimes. There is a way to say it. And sometimes it's better to say that than to lead people on.
Okay, that's right.
Because I've done that before, where I thought it was best to just keep saying, like, oh, like, I'll get to it, or like, I'll hang out with you, or like, just maybe, I don't know, maybe, like, not really being definite on anything. And then it just comes across as just flaky across the board.
Right.
Instead of the way I think it is, either it's like yes or maybe. And then, of course, people aren't so upset that I'm saying no to them. But sometimes I've realized whenever a friend or a colleague just is outright and is like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like, I'm either busy or I have other previous engagements or whatever. It's like, I have realized I respect that so much more. And I'm like, you know what? I understand that, because I have been there. Just be honest.
Okay.
So that's a big thing. So
yeah.
But yeah. And the reason why I was saying I don't want to call anybody out, because I have friends and family members, specifically, wink, wink, that will do that. That I'm like, they're hard. I don't know. And I've even called them out sometimes and say, just say no. I'm asking you a question. It is not life or death. instead of saying, I don't know, it is okay if you look at me in the eye and just say, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Because I will be like, I will be, okay, that's fine. I will, then let me go ahead and move on. That's fine. I just I was wanting to be, I was wanting to ask the question. So that's a thing that I've noticed.
So let me ask you a question. How many decisions did you make today?
Oh, buddy. I definitely made some decisions today. I can't even put a number on it, but I know that I've...
Wild guess.
13. I don't know.
Okay. The average human on a 24-hour period of time makes 35,000 decisions per day. Think about that. It's as simple as turn right, turn left, look up, look down. All of these are decisions. Right. What to wear.
Yeah.
It's...
I'm thinking of the major ones, the milestone decisions I made.
Every decision
you're right.
Works into what's going on in your life.
We even talked about this on a previous episode too, is not regretting. I think this is the one we were on with Sam. And might I say, I really enjoyed that episode with Sam.
Yes.
I listened back to it to like really proof check some things recently. I was like, that was a really, really great episode. I was enjoying listening to it, and I was like, I was there. But
well, it's funny. That's a decision to go back and listen to them. But when you do that, you hear things that you don't hear in that moment.
Yes, exactly.
And that's kind of fun.
But in that episode, we had talked about not regretting who we are, or not regretting the decision we made in the past, because it all inevitably made us into who we are today.
Right.
There are probably some decisions that I would have rather not have made, but do I regret them? No. Because I feel like I would have been a different person if I wouldn't have experienced that.
That's right. You would be. If you take one decision or one thing that happened in your life and pull it out, you're a completely different person.
Right.
Because it would have changed everything after that, because you pull from that experience to make other decisions.
Exactly.
So it's like the time matrix or whatever. If you pull one thing out, everything changes.
Right.
Because that changes who you are and decisions you would have made.
Exactly. And also, if we want to think on a bigger scale here too, is the people that you have impacted. Recently, I believe X-Man had talked about this. He has a son, and there was a point in time in the past where I had the opportunity to like teach him about some of the things that I was doing with the cameras, with the computer stuff, and he was just, as a 10 to 12-year-old boy was just asking questions and soaking up knowledge like most kids or boys this age do a lot of times, or at least the kids that I have worked with are boys, because I've been a young boy who's just like, well, what does that do? But why is it like that? And getting so nosy about things, but in a really good way. Same thing with Magnus as well. It's just like asking questions about things.
He'll ask you.
Yeah, right. But it's like I just recently, like, I may not be able to see his son for a pretty extensive part of time, because I think he's moving on, doing bigger and better things. And I got to see him today, and it was really interesting to see, even though I may not have had a lot of contact with him in the past few months because of what work is going on and things happening with X-Man, and you name it, a whole bunch of stuff's happening. It was still interesting to see him, to say hello. And even though it was just a little bit, I got to make his day a little bit. I did something that was kind of an inside joke between the two of us, and it was on the screens, and it was something that it was just a little Easter egg between the two of us that I got to do something, and he got a kick out of it. He got a thrill of it. He was super excited.
Really?
And it was really sad, because he was like, I don't want to leave. And I was like, man, it really hit me different that, like, I may not do a whole lot, but, like, I may have impacted his life in a certain way.
Oh, you definitely have.
And so that's the thing. It's like, and it's just things like that. It's like these little decisions, whether it's funny or it's serious or it's whatever, it's not just things that are affecting you and your experiences and making you into the person that you are today, but it's also the people around you.
Well, the little decisions that we make may not be little things for somebody else.
Exactly.
It could be huge for somebody else.
Right.
Really huge.
Exactly.
I saw X-Man's son and daughter today too, and they came up hugged me tight and didn't want to let me go.
Oh, so
and so maybe I've made a little impact on their life too,
right, exactly,
with some of the decisions I've made.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't tear your soul in a bad way, but it tears your soul to go, it may be a while before I see them.
Exactly.
So I need to make decisions to stay in, hey,
exactly,
hey, X-Man, we need to get together and go have Mexican food or something.
Exactly.
Man, it's crazy, the little decisions in life.
I mean, even if you think about on a grander scale, like this podcast here was, I mean, I know you were being serious, but originally X-Man and I were shooting something for work, and you were there as protection for us, just because it was a really crazy time. Pandemic was happening, a lot of stuff was happening. It was just crazy. And
X-Man says, "Hey, come sit down here and why don't you read the Bible verses?"
I'm not even talking about. I'm not even talking about that yet. I'm talking about the fact that you joked around like, we need to make a podcast.
Well, but we had done the Bible study for it. At first, it was like, "Hey, just come sit down and read the Bible verses for me."
Right.
And then we started talking in conversation, and then you started engaging in the conversation. And one day, I just blurted out, "Man, we should have a podcast."
Exactly.
And there was like this dead silence for a couple of minutes when we were like,
why not?
Maybe we should.
Well, because at the time I was probably
now we're worldwide.
Oh, right. That's the thing because at the time I probably was working on my other podcast for a handful of months. So by the time you were making the joke, I was like, I'm already getting kind of comfortable in like what that looks like. So you were like, we should do a podcast, and I was like, well, funny you should mention it.
There was like a literal moment of silence. We were all like,
why not?
That's not a bad idea. Why don't we?
And so that's what I'm saying is like little things like that. Because if you would have never said anything, we may not be right here now.
Right. That's right.
Our friendship may not have grown as much as it has.
And your decisions to start your own podcast months earlier, all led to this.
Exactly. It's just crazy. Life is a crazy place, and it's just so interesting.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's definitely keeps you on your toes.
Right.
Especially when you have Magnus.
Oh, yeah.
And those decisions on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's also like other things in the world as a whole, too. I mean, you want to talk about decisions and experience and stuff like that. Just the world that we're living in right now. The fact that, like, gas prices are as high as they are, and just everything feels like it is on the brink of chaos. It feels like sometimes it's just there are decisions that you can make in those moments.
I think there was a statistic that they said that 75% of American families are one major automobile repair away from bankruptcy.
I don't doubt that. Wow, that actually is very impactful because, that could really make or break a family.
Yes, it could. You need a $4,000 transmission or a $10,000 engine.
Right. Or heaven forbid, you get in a wreck that was kind of your fault or something.
I think my favorite thing, and this is all decisions. These are all things that people make decisions on. California has voted to get rid of all combustion engines and go completely electric by 2035. Really? And they announced that the other day. And 4 hours later, the power companies announced that they're going to have rolling blackouts all over California because they can't keep up with the power.
Wow.
So how are you going to charge your electric vehicle?
Right.
I'm like, wait, what? I don't think that's how that's supposed to work.
Yeah. That's kind of scary.
Well, that's really scary. Yeah.
At that point, it's like, what kind of... What?
Yeah.
I don't...
Right?
Yeah. These two things don't add up.
You should have thought about that a little bit better than that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Get your infrastructure first, then work on the other stuff.
Right.
Somebody made a bad decision there.
Right. What about making good decisions? Like, I guess, how should I word that? I know what it's like to make bad decisions and learn from it.
Oh, I know really well how to make bad decisions.
But I guess, how did you frame it in the other way, where it's like making a good decision in your life? Like, how would you go about, like, continuing that? How do you go about...
Can you?
Yeah.
Because you really don't know if it was a good decision for years.
Right. Sometimes
you really don't know. Like this, you said you've alluded to some decisions that you thought may have been bad at the time, but they prepared you for what you're doing now. So were they really bad decisions, or were they necessary decisions?
Yeah, I made decisions that I thought were good that turned out to be really bad, or well, that I was like, I'm going to work here, take a pay cut, it's going to be fine, and then of course a few years down the line, I'm questioning, a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, even still, like I don't want to say the name, but whenever I moved away, it's like that was a decision I made.
You moved away from somewhere?
Yeah, I moved to Canada.
And this program is brought to you by the Canada tourism industry.
That was a decision that I thought in the moment was a necessary and good decision. And in the moment, it was. In the grand scheme of things, I think it still was for myself.
Sure.
I learned a lot.
That's experience.
But there was definitely bad decisions made along the way.
That's how you got experience.
Exactly. Oh, man. And I think it really taught me a lot about myself and how I think, how I act, and how I handle myself. And it's a constant evolution of trying to better myself, knowing that I never can be perfect, but just constantly working at trying to.
So technically, even though we're generations apart, you and I, maybe not everybody in our generations, it seems like we kind of have a similar process for making decisions.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe you're a full-blown millennial just making decisions because, they like instant gratification.
Right. I'm not super impulsive. Right. Sometimes there are things that I feel like I can be on. Like I just bought myself a really nice Guinness pint glass.
I saw that.
I didn't need that. I didn't need that, but I wanted it though.
Right.
That
was awesome. I'm glad you showed me. That was really cool.
I have other little pint glasses that I use for like.
And you see, I have whiskey glasses.
Right.
I have a brandy warmer. I get that. Yeah. You want that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
For Christmas, Miranda gave me this great shaker strainer that has recipes of like 20 different drinks on it, and the way you turn it tells you the recipe.
Wow.
And then you just put it in, turn it, put it in, turn it, put it in, and then you can shake it or stir it and strain it. And
that's cool.
Like, yes.
That is so cool.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's the first time in my life. Literally. I'm damn near 60 years old. First time in my life I've had somebody actually give me something that they actually put some thought process into.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not a big drinker.
Right.
People give me lots of alcohol.
Right.
I probably have 70 bottles of alcohol that I may have 10 drinks a year.
Right, right.
But it's just thoughtful.
Yeah. Right.
She knows I like guns. She gave me for my birthday last year, she gave me a pistol I've always wanted.
That's awesome.
And when you have a new bride-to-be or wife and a new, a kid, you don't go out now and buy all the things you want for yourself.
Of course.
And she knew that.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to see what she does, in, a couple of days because my birthday is this coming Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So, yeah, I can't wait to see what she's got a smirk on her face. She feels like she's knocked it out of the park again. So, yeah. That's
awesome. Mallory, that is one of Mallory's love languages.
I remember you saying that.
She is a big gift giver. And it's so interesting. Like, that's like the first place her mind goes to. She sees something and she will like think about who that is good for in some way, which I'm like, I don't really think about it that way. But there's a couple of times where she's given gifts or she has like had gifts for people, whether it be like parties or whatever. And I'm like, I know this person well enough. I'm like, that is a really awesome gift for them. Right. And I'm like, how do you do that?
You're so lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Really? I was like, that's so cool. I
can't wait till you give me something.
Right. It's like, I may not want that, but I know that person well enough to know, like, they're probably going to really appreciate that. That's so thoughtful and really cool. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I understand that.
Again, that's decisions.
Exactly.
It's part of the 35,000 decisions we make on a day-to-day basis.
That's crazy to think 35,000. Yep. I can't even fathom that number.
No. You don't want to know how many times you blink in a day.
Oh, yeah. You're right. So. That is intense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you got anything else?
I don't really think so. I think this was a good conversation. It was a nice chance to relax and just talk about things that I feel like are pretty important to us right now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe what we ought to do is have a little pad, like in your shower. You could have a waterproof board, and on my toilet, I'll have a little thing there. We could just write down little things, and we'll call it bathroom talk.
Yeah, right. Shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts.
Right.
And poop time.
Poop time. That's great.
When I do my best thinking.
Right. Okay. I see. Like I said, this is just a great chance because
it's been a hell of a couple of weeks.
It's been hard.
Yes.
It's just been busy, and like we've said this entire show, it's been a couple of weeks worth of really big decisions.
And I think it's really funny that when we have these conversations, that's some of the biggest response that we get from our listeners.
Oh, right.
Because they like our authenticity and we're just genuine. Hey, we put it out there. A couple of weeks ago, I laid it out about my thoughts on being a failure as a stepdad, and I cannot tell you how many people reached out and said, I feel the same way. Or,
really?
Keep pushing through. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, I know.
That's so
but
cool.
It's still hard.
Exactly.
So right. when hopefully when they listen to this, they'll feel what we do.
Right.
And they'll reach out and let us know. So maybe some of their decisions.
Yeah.
And do that. Put it on Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
We post this on Facebook, and Ian always has our link tree.
Oh yeah. Right.
And stuff. Let us know what you're thinking. Engage with us. Talk to us.
Right.
We like that.
Ask some questions, because I just love this. That is how this entire show started. Was just the love of conversation and looking at topics and.
Mm-hmm.
Things in life from different people's perspective. We all have lived a life in some way, and because of all that, we all have a different flavor of
all the decisions we've made in life.
Each one of us have a chip on our shoulder for something,
yes.
And it may be something different.
Lord. Jesus.
And
Thank
so
you, Jesus.
Know what? It's just awesome to see, and I'm glad that we've had a lot of different people on the show in the past few weeks, because it's been really cool to, even as something as I would say probably not as serious in the grand scheme of things in life as like the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, and something as deep as you talking about your process of being a stepfather. Like it's all that kind of stuff that's like, it's so cool.
I had people come, I didn't know you were going through that.
Really?
I didn't know you were going through that. And I'm like,
yeah, dude.
Man, it was something.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a recent experience. Someone had listened to the episode with Sam, and they were talking to me about going to flight school and how they, and again, it was a similar conversation. Again, it's interesting to talk to somebody who has been involved in a conversation that you have been in as well.
Right.
So like they had listened to the episode, and I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, I listened to this episode of the podcast, and it's really interesting that you were like talking about your dream jobs and your work history and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah. And then I proceeded to try and describe to them what was being said in the episode. I was like, why am I going to, you read it, or you listened to it. You were there. Like anyways. So like, so we had a really great discussion, and then they were like, I have been through over half of my flight requirement stuff. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah. And like they recommended me to a few places where I can go to get like it signed up for pretty cheap.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just an interesting.
So have you signed up?
I've not yet.
Really?
But I do have a place in mind. Well, I realized it's a little more expensive than I thought it was.
Yes.
I had set a number, and I was like, that was like just the starting cost.
Yeah.
So it's I'm definitely not discouraged. Okay. I want to. It is like we said this entire episode.
About decisions.
It's about decisions. There's some pretty big decisions happening right now. And so before I start trying to make other bigger, more expensive decisions, let me try and
finish these up.
Yeah, right.
Finish
Which
these
is
up.
not going to be, hopefully before the end of the year, I'll get some things lined up. So
it's going to be fine.
Everything's going to be
fine. You do have a great core group around you.
Right.
And everybody supports you.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing feeling.
Yes.
So,
yes. Anyways, just like Stoney was saying, if you're trying to reach out to us, we have a Facebook page /Retrospect Pod. Most places you can type in Retrospect Pod, you should be able to find us. We have a link tree /Retrospect Pod, and you can find all the links to all the shows that we do, or I guess all of the podcasting platforms that we're on. But yeah, I hope we offended somebody. Maybe
I don't know if we did today.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I could go this episode if we didn't offend anybody.
Right.
Because
it's a little more mellow of an
episode.
Kind
of mellow and chilling out, talking about life and how we just make the decisions, and then finding out we make so many.
Yes.
On a day-to-day basis.
Good, bad, and indifferent.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Anyways, until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Peace.